have a question. What is your favorite song and how do you connect with it? Is it when you fell in love or through something really difficult? I'm your host, Tiffany Mason. Now join me as I interview others and we take a walk down memory lane with them. Let's get lost in why that music matters to them. Turn up your radio and let's explore Memories with a Beat. Hello, Podcast Land. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Memories with a Beat. Today, I have with me Lowry Olafson, and I have to say, we had a conversation and had such a great connection, I think. If you don't mind, would you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, where you live, what you're doing, that kind of stuff, just kind of catch them up to speed?
Okay, so I live in British Columbia on the west coast of Canada in a little town called Gibsons, and it's on the Sunshine Coast. So we have to actually take a ferry from Vancouver. It's not Vancouver Island, it's on the mainland, but because of the coastal mountains, there's no road access. And so it's a 40-minute ferry ride from Vancouver. So it's gorgeous, and I live right on the ocean. And it's a more, as far as Canada goes, it's a milder climate. So, rain in the winter, not usually much snow. But yeah, so it's an idyllic life, small towns, small town life. Been great for COVID because there's, pretty easy to social distance here.
I'm
And
sure.
yeah, and I've lived here for about 20 years and been on the West Coast for quite a while. And I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been basically a folk singer most of my life, released 9 albums and written lots of songs and toured all over the place. And these days I do basically to kind of do bread and butter stuff. I've always done a lot of kind of songwriting related things that actually paid better than releasing CDs and playing shows as an independent, artist. And so I facilitated a lot of songwriting workshops for like school kids and for businesses, like as team building and creating audio brands for businesses and podcasts. So now I'm writing what I call power songs, and they're not actually a full song. They're like about an 8-line, like a chorus of a song that I help people write or I help businesses write. When I write them with individuals, they're like kind of a personal anthem to help people really get clear about what they want more of in their life. And they use it like a musical affirmation, but it's kind of partly about getting clear and declaring what you want and allowing yourself to ask for that and giving yourself, permission, but also to give you a tool that when you sing it, it gets you out of your head and into your body and into a healthier energy and builds your confidence. And it's, just a more effective way to get results. So that's been my focus, the power songs for the last year, especially with COVID.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I need to go back and just revisit something that you said because it doesn't seem very fair to me. So we lived in Minnesota for, I don't even know, a combination of maybe like 12 or 13 years. And we got a boatload of snow. And now you're telling me you're further north and you're getting less snow?
Well, yeah, because we're on the coast. But I lived in Saskatchewan as a boy. I had 8 or 9 years so I know all about the 30 below and stuff. And even I lived in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia as well. So I know all about snow and cold and stuff. But the West Coast, we got this little pocket. For Canadians, it's the banana belt.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's
No,
interesting.
it's as close as we get to bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I wanted to ask you is you said that you have done a lot of folk music. What is the criteria for folk music versus, other genres?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they call it that. It's acoustic music,
Mm.
really. I mean, folk traditions are, people could think of kind of sea shanties and old English kind of, it's that kind of tradition. And I certainly love that part of thing, but that's not what I do. I'm much more in the, contemporary style, more inspired by Joni Mitchell and James Taylor and, that kind of singer-songwriter, navel-gazing kind of thing. So there's a place, we have these folk festivals and folk clubs, and there's an audience. In Florida, even there's an
I was
audience
gonna say, I remember
for
you
what
saying you
I
came
do. Yeah,
down.
yeah, I've toured in Florida.
Yeah,
So
very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay, and now you're doing like these power anthems. So how, when you're working with people, what does that look like? Like if I came to you and said, okay, I mean, how do people come to you first of all? I mean, how do they even decide? Like I would never think to do that. So how do they
Yeah.
find you? How do they come across you?
Well, I mean, I get a lot of referrals.
Uh-huh.
I get, a lot of people that, a friend will say, this is, they have one. And so they get that. And I have a website, powersongs.ca. So
Okay.
people can do that. I post a bunch on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I put songs up there that I've sung, that I've written with people. And I go out in my rowboat and sing them, while I'm bouncing around in the waves kind of thing
Yeah.
for fun. And a lot of coaches refer me to their clients. If the
Mm.
people that I really love to work with are people that are really believe in personal growth and development, and they want to, they just want to kind of get to 2.0 and 3.0 versions of themselves and not be held back by, so easy to be crushed by your own limiting beliefs and your self doubts, and fall into despair. And tools, this is a really effective tool to get you out of your head, out of the red zone of anxiety and fear and perfectionism and procrastination and frustration and anger and worry and all that stuff, and get you into your body, out of the red zone into the blue zone, where it's, gratitude and peace and contentment and strength and a higher quality of energy. Because singing has that ability to get us, get you out of your head and to create oxytocin and, change your actually chemical balance in your body. It's pretty powerful stuff, right?
Well, I reflected back to our conversation today, actually. I had this like real unrest and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put some music on. And I'm going to become present. I'm going to bring
Ah,
myself out of all this crud and I'm going to
yeah,
become present. And so that was really helpful. Thank you
yeah.
already.
Well, but if you sing yourself, then it's
Oh, I
kind of
did.
like, oh, you were singing. Yeah, because then it's
Mm,
like you're giving yourself this internal massage. I mean, you're vibrating. Literally, your body is vibrating.
mm.
Your bones are vibrating, right? And keeping the beat, I mean, the beat is what your heart does. Rhythm is as natural to us. People say, oh, I don't have a sense of rhythm. Well, tell your heart that. Tell your breath that. Of course you
Yeah.
do. Of course you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I can put you on the spot, and I know that you had this, crazy dream that you were going to live on the ocean,
right.
and you made yourself a little power anthem. Do you want
Yeah.
to share a little bit of that? You
Oh,
guys,
sure. Yeah.
okay, well, I want to say really quick, his vibrato is so beautiful. And just how he trails off on the ends, I just really, I just had such an appreciation for it. So sing us a little ditty and tease us just a little bit,
Okay, all right. So I'll just tell you a little bit of the backstory, okay?
please.
Okay, so I was 3 years ago. I was kind of in we'll say, a point of transition in my life, which is a really great time, to do work of this quality or of this nature. And 20-year marriage ending, I was kind of like, everything I had built. I'd spent all these years renovating this old 100-year-old house and put all my energy into this house, and it was kind of everything I wanted. And I always said the only thing that would get me out of this house, because we had a beautiful view of the ocean and everything, but I said the only thing that would get me out of here would be to have a house on the ocean, and that has always been my dream, and it's something I've always wanted. Yeah, so I was kind of trying to figure myself out, and this friend of mine said, well, why don't you do affirmations? And I said, well, I do affirmations, but I don't find them very effective.
Yeah.
And the reason they don't is because, for one, our brain has really strong bullshit detectors, but also because they're just spoken. They're just a positive idea versus a negative one. And there's like 10 negative ones for every positive. So, they're not as strong as they could be. And she said, well, why don't you write a song then? And so I thought, okay, I'll why not? I'll write a song. And so I wrote this little song that goes, I got a house on the water and someone to love. I laugh and sing and work and play. I'm living in the flow, helping people grow. Joy and adventure every day. And so I didn't have, thank you. I don't know about my vibrato, but anyway, so I sang it every day and it felt stupid. What are the chances that I'm going to have a house on the ocean. I'm a folk singer, blah blah, and wouldn't everybody love to have it? But then, I sang it, and I just, and even, someone to love, and even this idea about meaningful work that was, making a difference and stuff, because that had been a struggle for me. I was doing motivational speaking a lot. I had a really cool talk that had songs in it. I loved doing it, but it was like pulling teeth trying to sell it and, get work. Anyway, but then, I started thinking, it's kind of like, well, actually, my sister and brother-in-law bought that property in the ocean all those years ago at my insistence.
Oh,
I made them buy that place and said, you guys, you can't let this go. You got to do it, and then I just thought, well, they don't have the wherewithal to build there. They're even thinking about selling it. I could never buy it. But if we pooled our resources, and, I brought in my experience with, helping with construction and picking an architect and picking a builder and, doing all those things. And so we ended up building this really beautiful house right on the ocean. And I have the top floor with my own, self-contained suite. And it's like, so there's the dream.
yeah.
And it just is, it's not even, it's like impossible. Like when I walk in and I'm just like, this is just impossible. How could this possibly happen?
Yeah.
And I think it's when we, open ourselves to, like, start telling ourselves the truth about what we want in our lives. Like I remember way back when I wanted to be a folk singer. I'd been doing music like since I was a kid. I've been writing songs since a kid. I was all over, but I was really kind of holding back and afraid, to really be wholehearted. And this friend of mine was into like doing goal setting and stuff, and he sat me down and says, Lowry, what do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, I didn't want to answer that. And he said, no, I mean, if you didn't have to worry about practical considerations, just tell me, what would you want to do? And I said, I want to be a singer-songwriter. I want to release an album. I want to play concerts. And he's like, well, okay, and that was the hardest thing, was just saying that, just saying, this is what I want. And because all of a sudden now you're confronted, well, what if I don't do it? Then what am I? Then I'm really a failure because I didn't even try, or what if I try and I fail? And especially as an artist, because the expectation is fame, whereas, I mean, I'm part of a culture of independent artists, and I've got dozens and dozens of friends that all we do is play small gigs and release our own CDs. And I've toured the world doing that.
Yeah.
And so it just, I just don't get in limousines very often. You know what I mean? But who cares? Like, that isn't the part that you care about, right? Anyway, so his response was, what would you have to do to make that happen? What would you have to do? You want to do an album? What would you have to do? It's like, well, maybe I'd have to write some songs. Maybe I'd have to, so we set small goals. It's kind of like, okay, well, what if I had enough songs and I'd written songs, but, what if I had enough songs to share a bill with somebody else, a concert, and I do half the night, they do half the night. So that was my goal, just like, 9 songs, right? So I did that, and that was fantastic. And then it's like, okay, now the goal is to have enough songs to do my own concert at this, this folk club. And it's like, and I did that. And then, like, it just keeps going. And then you meet people that have studios, and you meet this, and the serendipity, like, that's the piece that happens when you declare, if you put a stake in the sand. So many people won't do that.
It's scary.
They won't say, this is what matters to me and this is what I want. If I could have this is what I want. So when I write power songs, I give people at first this thing, I call it the deep dive worksheet. And I ask them these questions, and I get them to think about that. And then, it's just creating the safety where we can actually talk about that and, find words for that. And then it's kind of like, I want you to sing this every day. I want you to sing it every day. And they do, they do. And, people love their songs.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was part of it, is that they get these songs and then the goal is to sing those every day. So I suppose that makes sense. I mean, duh, but I just didn't put 2 and 2 together for some reason. Now, I hope everybody caught what he said at the very beginning of this with affirmations. I think it is the funniest terminology that he said. Our brains have such a strong bullshit detector. And it's so true that, like, I mean, I was trying to do affirmations myself, and I ended up finding this app that I could use, and I'm happy with that. But I I think that it was hard for me to just even come up with my own affirmation. Like, just like how you're saying, it's hard for these people to put their stake in the ground and claim it. It's the same thing. It was the same thing for me with even just the affirmations. Like, it was so uncomfortable. And my bullshit detector was like, nah, girl, you don't mean it. Stop saying it. You don't mean it.
Yeah. And that's why, gratitude is much more effective. Like a 5-minute gratitude practice of actually just writing 5 minutes about what you're grateful for is super powerful in terms of opening the filter in your amygdala and opening you up to a much wider sense. All of a sudden, like, you can feel a difference in your eyesight. I kid you not. Tunnel vision feels very narrow, but like just now, I just looked around, and you look around, it's like, oh my God, there's a sky, and there's, there's a world out here that I'm just not seeing because I'm so focused on my problems. I'm so focused on this limiting, narrow, we're hardwired for safety, right? And so we need to, when you go into gratitude, it's like, how about I'm still breathing? Like, when you stop breathing, then you got a problem.
Right.
Right. Except you don't have any problems. But you know what I'm saying is, like, you can set the bar pretty low. It's not very, like, just to be grateful for this beautiful day or for this beautiful conversation or, just the fact that, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But also I just wanted to say one other thing about affirmations. And, like, to me, the enemy is thinking. Right. The enemy, the red zone is all thinking states. The suffering states are all thinking states. Their worry and their, all those anxiety and those things are all manufactured in our brain. And a lot of times the affirmations that I hear people use have, like, they're ridiculous. How cerebral the language is. It's like mission statements for businesses. I mean, whoever came up with that idea should just, be taken outside, because, they're, like, I heard one the other day, something, I create the infrastructure for the mind. I mean, it was like just bizarre. And this woman paid somebody money to come up with that affirmation. Yeah. Well, John Lennon did not say, all you require is love. It's grade 5 songs, writing grade 5 language that goes straight to our bodies and they get it out of your head. All you need is love. You don't have to go into your head to sing that. It's on one note. Anybody can sing that song, and it's a lot different to say all you need is love than it is to say all you need is love, right?
Yeah.
It's a very different experience. It's almost like you're just healing yourself and you're honoring yourself, and in some way it's just like, it's such an act of kindness and acceptance and love to sing, to allow yourself to sing without judging and saying, oh, my voice isn't, and like all that stupid stuff. Your voice will kick in, I'm sorry, your head will kick in and start criticizing you and judging you, right? And yet your body won't. Your body says that feels good.
Yeah, that's true. Well, since you brought it up, I mean, I loved our conversation so much, and I really do want to touch on this point, and then maybe we can even carry it into the song that you picked, and we can kind of talk about how, the melodies versus some of the conversational words. But I would like you to expand on that thought that, you said all you need is love. That, first of all, it wasn't all you require is love, right? You had said all you need is love, because it was very conversational. It was very direct. And then we also talked about somewhere over the rainbow and that expansive feeling with the melody. So if you'll dive into that just a little bit, and then I want you guys to think about it as we talk about his song as well.
Yeah, well, melodies are just like off the map powerful, and people don't realize, just like, so when I write melodies for my songs, my goal is to take people on an emotional journey that even if they didn't know what the words were, they would get all of the emotional effect that I'm trying to create with the lyric. So one of the best examples, I think, of one of the most brilliant melodies ever written was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which could have gone, if all you want to do is write a catchy, hooky melody, it could go, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, right? Could have been like that. And it would have been catchy, but it would not have been expansive. It would not have been inspiring. It wouldn't have been uplifting. So they went somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And then you come down and it's almost like this, there's a, whatever, I come to once in a la la, Bye. And you feel like you've been hugged, like you've been
Mm-hmm.
just held and embraced by this. And that's all. If I hadn't said the words and all I went was da ba ba da da ba ba la da da la da 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 la da 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 da. Right? That melody just it takes you, it transports you out of your head into like the most beautiful, beautiful place. And so melodies, melodies have to do that. And quite frankly, that's missing a lot in the stuff that, you hear on the radio now because, everything's so rhythm based and the melodies now are just basically, they're like the same melody repeated 4 times. Verbatim, like hardly, not even any change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then rap, like there's no melody whatsoever.
Forget
Right.
about it.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, like I when I write melodies with people's power songs, I'm thinking very much about about taking the effect that it's going to have when they sing this song and how it's going to lift them from a sense of despair and self-doubt and all of those things that everybody just fights these things every day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, especially if you're challenging and you're an entrepreneur or you're somebody who's really facing the battle and really trying. But I think everybody faces, sadness and not sadness, but depression and despair. I mean, for me, those were really, they were common. And my goal has been to flip that around, get out that people spend, they say 80% of their time in the red zone and only 20% in the blue zone. Well,
Mm.
my goal is to flip that around. I want to spend 80% of my time in the blue zone and 20% of the time worrying about stuff. And when I'm worrying, I'm going to use some tools like gratitude or mindfulness or my power song to get me back my perspective, get real. I mean, it's like get real.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's an awesome, really mission. I mean, I know that you're doing it as a business. I totally understand that, but it really feels like a mission. I mean, just for, I feel like mental health is very current or very, at the
Yeah.
forefront of a lot of concern.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, an awesome mission that you're just helping people kind of combat that or face it head
Hmm.
on and fight through
Yeah.
it a little bit. And then just those melodies, how they make you feel, and you're floating around. And I have to imagine, because you shared with me that you chose this song really because it kind of almost took your breath away the first time you heard it, and it left such an impression that
Yeah.
every time you hear it now, you kind of are brought back to those same feelings or that same emotion. So would
Yeah.
you please share with my audience, what song did you pick, who is it by, and then fill us in, how does it make you feel?
Okay, well, the song I picked is called Little Hercules, and it's written by a guy named Craig Carothers, who was a songwriter based in Portland. He was kind of, one of the guys in the circle that I moved in, though I've never met him personally. But I was playing at a festival in California one time, and he was there, and we all went to hear him, and he played this song called Little Hercules. And the chorus goes, and if you feel the weight of the world, put your mind at ease, little Hercules. Actually, the line is, you've made a life where no one tells you what to do, and now the only tyrant that you're working for is you. Right? And so it's this song about, just giving yourself a break and, not being a workaholic and yeah, just cutting yourself some slack. But the melody, I mean, it's got this great hook. And then I found out today, only today, when I was, because of you, Tiffany, doing the research on this song, was like Trisha Yearwood recorded it. And it's like, holy cow. So this is fantastic. Yeah. So, but it's, to me, when I'm writing a song, if I get choked up when I'm writing it, I feel this thing in my chest, then I know I'm onto something. And if I don't feel that, this song isn't happening. When I hear this song, it's just like every time I it could move me to tears if I feel it.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that, in a previous interview, a gentleman was talking about how the lyrics had these opposites, how the songwriter had played with the opposites. And I noticed that right off the bat, because it says, so you cannot lift a spirit that has turned to lead, right? Like a lead soul. You can't, that's heavy. And then, or shine a light in a shadow when the batteries are dead. And even little Hercules, because if you think about Hercules, that's a real muscular guy, right? That
Yeah.
can do anything. But she's saying little Hercules. And I love, well, I suppose, if we're being fair and giving homage to the original creator, it's all these lines, all these trials and tribulations and, self-doubt, and then, saying like, you've made it through, little Hercules. You've got this, little Hercules.
Yeah.
We feel like we aren't these big giants. We're just little Hercules, So
Yeah.
I don't know. I really loved the imagery with the words. Just, I'm little Hercules, you're little Hercules, just those things that we're taking on, and we're, fighting the good fight, the battle every day, and trying to be the best
Yeah.
Hercules that we can be, and,
Yeah.
not be too hard on ourselves.
Yeah. And still, like this line, it's really funny because I'm terrible at listening to lyrics. And it's really like I find it almost impossible to listen to a song all the way through and stay present to the lyrics. I mean, I'm almost ashamed of this because like when I have to see them written down to know what they have, I just kind of get swept off and go off and I don't know where I go. But which is really funny because that's why I work so hard on my lyrics, because I want people to hear them. I want them to stay present, right? But so I'm just reading these today for the first time, and I've listened to this song at least 1,000 times. I kid you not, right? But this line, myths may be invincible, but we are only strong. So myths, like this, they're invincible, but we're only strong. Well, we're not nothing. We're strong is pretty good, but we're not invincible, right? And
Well,
this,
go ahead.
well, just that expectation that we have to be, you can't lift a spirit that's turned to lead. You can't, shine a light in shadow when the batteries are dead. You can't fly like a bird over the works of man or always think of the words, perfect words, but you do the best you can. So all these things we can't do, but we can do the best we can. We can't be invincible, but we can be strong. So it's not about kind of, just sitting down and licking your wounds and, eating ice cream, which is fine sometimes, but, but we're capable of such greatness, within our own abilities. And so I love the idea that we can surprise ourselves with, it's like, oh my God, I never dreamed I could do that.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that a wonderful feeling?
Yeah, I think that's probably been my whole last year, is just every other day where I'm like, oh, I did that. Oh, that was really cool.
Yeah, who says you can't? I wrote a power song this morning with this guy in Germany, and the last line is "Don't underestimate me." And you know what the line? I got to find this. Hang on a second. I got to find it.
It gave me chills.
Oh my God! We'd written most of the song, and then I said to him, have we got a do you have some kind of an image or something that speaks to you? And because I always like to get a symbol or something like that. He said, oh yeah. He says a hummingbird. He said, and I said, what's the deal with the hummingbird? And he said, because according to science, hummingbirds can't fly. Right? By all reasonable expectations, definitions, or whatever it is, hummingbirds can't fly. And so his line was, like a hummingbird flying, don't underestimate me.
I like it.
I loved it. It was like,
that's feisty.
I have never written a song that had that in it before. Don't underestimate me. And I mean, what a way for us to think of ourselves. Don't underestimate yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what, that's kind of what we do a lot of times, right?
Yeah. Hey, Podcast Land. Y'all have given me so many compliments on my sound, and thank you very much. But it all comes from my fee-fine USB podcast condenser mic. I've thought about upgrading, but honestly, why fix what's not broken? In the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of podcasts were started, making the price of ideal microphones skyrocket, and they weren't that easy to get your hands on. And wouldn't you know, I thought it was a great idea to start my podcast in 2020 as well. Due to the circumstances, I was forced to look at other options, and I'm thankful that I was. If you too are looking for an affordable microphone for podcasting, check out the link in the show notes to get your fee-fine microphone. On that note, let's go back to the show. So, can you remember? So, the first time you heard it, where were you? Were you at one of those folk festivals?
Yeah, I was at the Napa Valley Folk Festival. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, with a bunch of my friends, and we were all performing there. And Craig Carothers was kind of like the little next echelon up from us. He was kind of one of our heroes and stuff. And And we all were all blown away by this song. Like it was like, because it has a beautiful melody and yeah.
Now, have you ever reperformed it yourself?
No, I've never learned it. No, but I'll tell you what, I've stolen from it plenty.
Oh.
You know, I got lots of riffs and things that are totally a direct steal. If he ever comes to one of my shows, it's going to be a problem.
Now, would anybody hear this on the radio or anything like that, or is this something that we would have to hear him?
Well, Trisha Yearwood recorded it.
Yep.
You know, let me look here because I found it. I think it was in. You can get it, you know, on like Amazon Prime if you pay for it, right? There's Spotify. It's on an album she released in 1996. It says.
Well, I'll definitely put that version in my show notes. But if we can find the Corey Carothers,
Craig
Carothers,
and he's like, you know, he's an indie songwriter. But I think he was based in Nashville. I think he's down in the southern U.S. somewhere now. But Craig Carothers, and yeah, he's great. He has lots of cool stuff. And I like his version better. Sorry.
Why do you like his version better?
Because it was great. Like pretty hard to improve on, as far as I'm concerned. You know, sometimes, you know, the songwriters aren't that good. He's a good performer.
Maybe
he's got this like, gravelly voice, great guitar. You know, it's nice recording.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like when you read the book and then watch the movie. The movie's like wah wah. It's good. It's got the general idea. Yeah, but your imagination is so much better.
Well, and it's like the movie of the Bible. The book was better, you know. No, but no. Sometimes, I mean, I've got a buddy who I do one of his songs, and I say I do this better than you do, and he said, "Oh yeah, yes you do," you know, which is nice of him. But you know, sometimes especially with a lot of songwriters, they're not great singers. Sometimes the guys that write really great songs, often they're not that good singers, and then somebody will take their song and like it'll be amazing, right? So you never know. It's not a given. It can go either way.
Yeah.
But I like his version, yeah.
Well, that's why I podcast, because I can't sing or play. So at least I get to just dive into music and pick everybody else's brains about it.
Well, and bring us all these new songs. That's what I loved about listening to your podcast was, you know, I was getting introduced to songs that I would never have listened to otherwise and wouldn't have come across them. There's so much music out there now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and the backstories and, you know, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. I have playlists for them. If you're ever just like, oh, I just want to put on, you know, a good mix or whatever. There's a playlist on Spotify, Apple, and actually a video playlist on YouTube. So, awesome. You know, if you ever just want it on in the background or something, they're all there. But that's what I love about it too, is that it's just so many different genres that I would have never, even there was a rap song on there and I thought, I don't know how this is going to go, but I really love the guy that I interviewed. Yeah. So I thought I'll give it a whirl. And it was actually really good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you know, can't discount the whole thing, but I just, you know, if that was a conversation about melody, you know, not about the value of the art form. Yeah.
Yeah, we dug into lyrics for that one for sure. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to add about this song?
I guess you know, to me, just to really appreciate, you know, the value of songs to heal us and to, you know, create these places of safety, but I guess, you know what it is, it's really also to help us find our truth. In a sense. It's kind of like, you know, when somebody really says something and it's like, you didn't even realize that's where you were, or that's what you needed to hear. Yes. Right. You know, so sometimes that's how we hear things is, you know, in songs. It's like what we talked about, you know, with, you know, how the songs, you said that one of the other guests had said that too, that the songs speak for us. We'll say the words that we can't say ourselves, you know, like some guy that could never tell his girlfriend that he, you know, how much he misses her or how lost he feels or whatever. He's singing, you know, oh, I'm lost without you. And he's singing along, you know, he's driving along or whatever, right? So, you know, for me, I think I wrote a song of my own that is really this song in a sense. My version of it, and the lyric goes, I used to be such a sorry guy, nose pressed to the grinding stone. I thought the way to get ahead was to work my fingers to the bone. I used to wear a heavy frown, shoulders bent and eyes cast down, walk that way all over town. That's who I used to be. Now all I do is sing. Now all I do is dance. Because here's the thing, you don't get a second chance. So all I do is love you and let whatever rings true find a little breathing room. That's what I'm going to do. Right? So it's really a song about, reclaiming your life and, not feeling like you have to set these ridiculous standards before you're going to approve of yourself or, make these ridiculous demands that people put on themselves.
Well, and I've talked to people that have made it to those higher levels. And I think the reality is for most people, it's not what they think it's going to be.
Exactly.
Yep. They find themselves happier at a lower level, more content. So more balanced. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I love everything that you are doing. I will have links in the show notes. So everybody definitely check it out. Check Lowry out. If you are in a place of transition and you are just feeling like that's what I need, you need to reach out to Lowry and get yourself, what are we calling it? A power song?
Power song. Yeah, they're called power songs. And, I just wanted to say one thing about that, because like I wrote one recently with this woman who just had breast cancer. She, just had a mastectomy, and we took her affirmation, and it went, she had this affirmation: I am calm, I am strong, I am well. And I said, that's beautiful. Let's use that. I am calm, I am strong, I am well. I'm perfectly in tune. I thrive in all I do. Joy is what my life's about, and I'm beautiful inside and out. So sometimes they're like, they're just wherever they are with these songs, and it's not always some guy that's, trying to expand his business to the next level. Although I do those too, but it's just, they're just a really powerful way to provide healing and support to yourself,
Yeah, well, you used it for healing as well, and she used it for healing, and then you have your other folks that are using it to level up, and so just wherever you are in life, whatever you need a little power for.
Exactly. Yeah. So thanks so much, Tiffany, for having me. It's been super fun talking to you and hanging out and getting to know you.
I agree. I'm excited to see where our friendship goes.
Yeah.
And with that, that's going to be the last note of this episode. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? You never know what rabbit holes we'll get to go down and explore. Were you reminded of anything? Or anyone? Share what it was with me in a review. Honestly, the reviews don't do me any favors other than knowing people like you are listening to this podcast. Insert cheesy wink. However, the ratings do help, so leave me 5 stars. You know you wanna. This podcast was produced by Virtual You, supporting you in all things podcasting. To connect or check me out on social media, I know you're just gonna stalk me. But see the show notes, as always, for details. Can't wait to dive into my next guest's memories with a beat. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next episode.